this video I'm going to talk about the app that we made called GuizChallange. I'll be explaining the key features of the app and also the gameplay. Upon running the app, you'll be faced with 7 options: logging in, creating a new game, continuing a game, displaying a game, loading question, playing with a computer, logging out, or quitting. In this case, you have to log in first before you do anything. So we log in by pressing I. It will ask us for a username, so Mike, and his password is password. Present us with the same 7 questions again, but in this case we've already logged in, so we won't have to. You might choose to log out, but we'll stay logged in for now. And after logging in, we might play with a computer or play with a human being. But for illustrations, we'll play with a human being first before we play with a computer. So when you're playing with a human being, you can click N to create a new game, or continue C if you had a previous game before. But we didn't have a previous game, so we'll be clicking new. But before we do that, we have to load all the questions first for it to ask us. So we'll be clicking L to load the questions, and it's loaded the questions. So we'll be clicking N to create a new game, and it will ask Mike 3 sets of questions in round 1. So he can either choose to answer the questions, cheat, or skip the question. So he'll be, for illustration purposes, P, cheating, and S for skipping. And he might choose to answer this one and C. He answered it correctly, and he has to log out for a new opponent to be registered for him to play with. So he logs out, and someone else comes back in, maybe Omar, and his password is ink. So Omar can create a new game or continue a game, but if he wants to face Mike, he'll have to create a new game. So he's facing Mike in round 1, and he's being asked 3 sets of questions too. They're not the same questions. So he might choose to answer. So A, he'll skip, and he's going to round 2 against Mike. So he'll be asked 3 questions again against Mike. So he might choose to maybe cheat, skip, and skip. So he skipped almost all the questions, but that's fine. And he'll have to log out for Mike to answer round 2 of 3 sets of questions. So he'll log out, Mike will come back in, and his password is password. So for Mike, he'll have to continue a game. He wants to play against Omar, so he'll continue a game. So continue a game against Omar, so that's 2. And he's been asked 3 sets of questions in round 2. They're not the same questions. So he'll skip. Okay, he might have to answer this, and he'll answer this. And next he'll be moving on to round 3 against Omar, and he'll be asked 3 sets of questions. So cheat, and he'll answer the question, so C, and he'll answer the question E. So he's answered all his questions, and the last thing is for Omar to come back in and answer his last 3 sets of questions. So Mike will log out, and Omar will come back in. So Omar, and his password is ink. So he'll continue a game against Mike. So this is his last round, round 3. So he'll answer, and he'll answer, and he'll answer again. So at this point, the game is over because 3 sets of rounds have passed, and that was a set amount of rounds. So to display the scores, he'll be clicking D, and as you can see, he won against Mike, the bottom one. So he lost against Mike. So this is it for human versus human. Next we'll be moving on to playing with a computer. So we might choose for Mike to stay back into the computer, or we can log out and someone else comes back in, but we'll let Mike play with the computer. So he'll be clicking A to play with the computer, and this will present him with 3 difficulties he can choose. So in this case, he can take 100, the most difficult, and he'll be asked questions, but in this set of questions he has to type them out. So Kuala Lumpur, and he's correct. The computer obviously got 1 because the computer's chances 100% of getting it right, and he'll answer again, and the computer got it right again, and he'll answer again. Mike, and the computer again got it right. It's because it's 100%. So he has to get right too, and the computer got right again. Washington. And the last question, second last question, Mike will answer it again. So Abu Dhabi. And as you can see, Mike lost against the computer. So he got 5 out of 6 while the computer got 6 out of 6 when it's 100. This might ask me to repeat the game again. I might want to repeat it. And in this case, we'll take the lowest probability of the computer getting it right. So 33%, and same questions. So the computer got it wrong because the probability is very low, 33%. Mike will answer again. He was wrong, and in this case we might choose or skip a question, so we'll type skip just for illustration purposes. And the computer has 7 scores at this point. Mike skipped, he doesn't earn a point, so it's time to catch up. And Washington and Abu Dhabi. So at this point he scores 9 out of the questions, and he's tied with the computer. So as you can see, his highest score against the computer is 1 out of 9, and he gets it right. So this is it for computer playing against human, and we'll quit. And it's presented us with the same set of questions. We can log out Mike, and it's telling us have a nice day. So this is it for our tutorial, the guidelines, and thank you very much for listening.